Hey guys, you're watching first edition. Today we'll discuss the first module of application development using Python, which is a part of the fifth sem course of video engineering students. So here we are going to discuss these topics which are according to the syllabus, and we are going to follow the prescribed textbook. Okay, so we will start with some basic topics here. Okay, so here we have some of the operators we are going to discuss. The first one is exponent operator. Okay, this is represented by two asterisk signs, as you can see. So 2 asterisk asterisk 3 means 2 to the power 3, that is 8. Okay, next is modulus operator. Okay, which is also which can also be called as a remainder operator. Okay, it returns the remainder. Okay, so say 22 mod 8 gives us a remainder 6. Then we have a integer division. Okay, it is represented by a double slash sign. Okay, so say 22 divided by 8 gives us the integer division quotient will be 2 here. Okay, then we have a division operator, multiplication operator, subtraction, and addition as usual. Okay, so mainly these three are the new ones, so you'll have to remember this. Okay, next we have the order of precedence here. Okay, so in since we have introduced some of the new operators here, like double asterisk, that is exponent, and integer division. So note that the double asterisk operator is evaluated first. Okay, then the multiplication, division, then integer division, and then the modulus operator is evaluated next. Okay, and these are evaluated from left to right. So the next topic is string concatenation. Okay, so there are several ways which you can use to concatenate two strings. Okay, so the first one is using the plus operator. Okay, so you can concatenate a string using plus operator. Okay, but note that both of the operands which you are using in this case must be of the type string. Okay, so here I have hello and there, so both of them are the type of string. So let me execute this. So if I execute this, I'm getting a string. This is returning me a string of hello there. Okay, so it is concatenated. This as a whole is a single string. Okay, so this is also next example is also called replication. It's kind of when we use this string replication operator, that is a single asterisk. So when we use this, it multiplies the string the number of times which you mention here. Okay, here we have given 3. So if I execute this code, I'll get nav as 3 times. Okay, so this is how you can use the string replication operator. Okay, so next we have a Python program. Okay, which demonstrate the string concatenation using join. Okay, so next is we'll see how to use join method. So say here we are using join method. Okay, and we are joining variable 1 and variable 2. Okay, and then we have passed a void string here. I can say there's nothing. Okay, here. So and in the next place here, I'm using join method, and I'm adding a space. Okay, I'm adding a separator between these two variables. Okay, so you'll note the difference here. Okay, and the third one is I'm using variable 1 and I've given an asterisk. Okay, a single character asterisk here, and then I have passed a hello here. Okay, so I'm going to join these two. So I've called variable 1 dot join var2. Okay, so let me execute this and then I'll explain what happens. So here is the result. Okay, so when you call this the first print statement, it is returning this thing. Okay, so what it does is it joins variable 1 to the variable 2. Okay, and here when I add a space here, so it puts a space in between these two variables while joining it, and it returns these both as a single string. Okay, so as you can see here, hello where one is hello, then it added a space between these two variables, and then it added world. Okay, so this is a single string which it has returned. Okay, then we have this variable one as asterisk symbol, then we have hello. Okay, so note that when we pass a single string here, so it considers each characters as a separate entity, separate elements here. Okay, and it attaches this, it joins it, this is the first string to each of those elements. Okay, so if you see here, see the asterisk is joined to H, then E, then L, and O. Okay, so the first variable which you are writing here, okay, which is actually calling this join method, and the second argument which you are passing. So you'll have to note that the first string which is calling the method is going to join with the argument which is being called. Okay, so argument which is passed in this method is hello, and the variable which is calling this, the string variable which is calling this is asterisk. So asterisk will be attached to each and every element or each and every character of the string var2, that is hello. Okay, so you can see that here. So now we will discuss string concatenation using the percentage operator we have here. Okay, so here we have two string variables. One contains very and the second contains high. Okay, so we can use this operator, okay, to combine the strings. Okay, so as you can see, as we used in C, we used to denote what we are going to print by percentage S used to represent the strings, and then percentage D used to represent integers. So that concept can be used here too, and if you use this here, see, this represents a string. Okay, and this also represents a string. So what it is going to do is it will place variable 1 here and variable 2 here. Okay, and note that there's an added space here. Okay, so this is how we use this percentage or modulus, whatever you say it, okay, for the concatenation of strings. So when I execute it, you get very high. Okay, as I said, very will be printed first, as variable is passed first, variable 1 is passed first, and then var2 is passed second. So it will go and it will be passed to this percentage S. So very is printed first, then there is a space, then there is a variable 2, that is high. Okay, note that if I place anything else here, if I write anything in, say, asterisk or something, okay, then if I execute, I'll get asterisk in between. Okay, and this whole is a a single string. Okay, so now we'll see string concatenation using the format method. Okay, so here I've called the print function, then I've given here 2 braces, and then this string which I have here, this is calling the format method. Okay, and I've passed variable 1 and variable 2 here. Okay, so what happens here is the variable 1 values goes and sits here, and the variable 2 values goes and sits here. Okay, so the final output of this particular line will be variable 1 hello, and variable space variable 2 world. Okay, so this will be returned as a single string hello world. Okay, now there are many ways in which you can use this format functions and the braces. Okay, so you can store this thing, what this as I said, this function returns a string as a whole, so you can store it in some different variable and then you can print it. So these both will return the same string. We'll see that. Okay, So here I have something similar. Okay, here I have a variable 1 which is who, and variable 2 which is you. Okay, so I'm initializing a variable 3 here. Okay, so whatever this function returns gets stored in variable 3. Okay, so these are the curly braces. Okay. Then space r space the curly braces we have it again, and the format variable 1 variable 2. Okay, so when I say variable 1 and this variable goes, and it's actually going to, that value of variable 1 is going to come here. Okay, and the variable 2 is going to come here. Okay, so it will the final output of this line will be who are you. Okay, so this is how we use the format function. Now one more thing which is which you can do with the format function is, so while you're using see in the previous examples we haven't given anything in between the braces. Okay, so but you can give the indexes of these passed arguments here. So if say I've passed 1 here, then it is going to print the variable 2 here in place of this variable 1. Okay, no matter how you write it. Okay, instead you can give the variable name also here, so it will print that particular variable name at this position. Okay, so I'll execute this code, it'll be much more clearer. Okay, so as you can see, this line printed hello world. This also prints the same, as I've stored it in a new variable, but still prints the same. Okay, then we had this some altered string here. Okay, so this we printed who and you, and r was already there in the string, so it returned us a complete string with who are you. Okay, so that is printed who are you. Then at last what we did was we changed the index here, and then since we have written 1 here, so note that variable 2 is getting printed first. Okay, u is getting printed first, and then r, then we have passed 0, then variable 1 is getting printed because this is at the 0th index, so it goes like 0 1 2 and all. Okay, so who is getting printed first. Okay, so now we will discuss the rules defining variable names. So it can only be a single word. Then we can use letters, numbers and underscore characters, and the variable name can't begin with any number, and the variable names are case sensitive, so which means that this is different from this, and this is different from this, so all these things are different. Okay, so this is the variable names are case sensitive. So here I have a sample program. Okay, so it prints hello world, then it asks what is your name, then it inputs, it asks for the input, then that input which it receives, it stores in my name. Okay, then I print this using the plus operator here. Okay, so it returns a concatenated string, it is good to meet you, then your name. Okay, then it prints the length of your name. Okay, then it asks you what is your age, then it inputs your age. So why I've given this program here is because to tell you something. The thing is, when you're using the print statement, when you use this plus operator, you'll have to be careful. Okay, so as you can see, this is written in a quote, which means it is a string. So the variable I'm passing here using as a second operand to this plus here should be a type of string. Okay, I cannot concatenate any integer value or a float value to a string. So if you try to do that, you will get an error. Okay, so as you can see, since my name is going to be a string, okay, and this input functions by default returns a string no matter what you enter. Say you enter 2 3 4 whatever integer value you enter, doesn't matter, it is going to store it as a string. So if you want to make use of it in some calculation, you'll have to manually convert it to integer or a floating type variable. Okay, or a data type. So Here I've used concatenation, and that's fine because it was a type of string. Then I've printed the length of my name. Okay, so here's everything is fine. Then I've asked what is your age, then I take the input of the age. Note that age is a number. Okay, it's of type a number. Okay, it's not a string. So when we input age here, it gets stored as a type of string, okay, by default. So we'll have to convert it if we want to do some calculations with it or something. But if we want to print it, you see what I've done here. I've printed the string who you will be. Then I've made a small calculation. So for that calculations I have converted this my age to integer. Okay, so say my age was 2 in strings, then it converts it to 2 in integer, then it adds 1 to it. Okay, so the final value will be 3. Okay, so it says you will be 3 in a year. So note that after this operation is carried out, okay, first we converted it to integer, then we added 1 to it, and then we convert back it to string. Because for printing we'll have to when you're using this plus, which means we are basically concatenating these strings, these individual strings, which means this has to be type of string. So we are converting back it to the type of string, and then we print it. Okay, so if I execute this, it will ask what is your name. So if I say my name is Lucifer, so it gives me Lucifer. Name. So it is good to meet you, Lucifer. Then the length of your name is 7. What is your age? So if I give 20 and say you will be 21 in a year. Okay, so that's what this code is. Main purpose of this code was this the concept of this input function. It returns the string always, no matter what you enter. And the second thing, when you're using this plus operator to print something, you'll have to be careful, because we can use that only if the operands are of type of strings here. Okay, we cannot concatenate string with integer also. Okay, so that's what is written here. So here I have another program, so which as we have discussed, and when we try to input something, it always returns a string. Okay, so say I'll execute this first. Okay, say I have entered, it is asking me a value and I'm entering 2. Okay, so see, when I entered 2 here, okay, this is the first statement, it prints 2. Okay, correct. So then it prints the type of this variable, that is 2, which in this case is string. Okay, so then what if we have to do some calculations over it? As we have previously discussed, we'll convert it to the integer type. Okay, so we convert it in this way. So we have written int, then in brackets we have passed this variable a, then we are storing back it to a. Okay, then if I check the type of a here, it returns me the integer. It is the type of integer since we converted it to integer. Okay, then we'll see how to convert it to float. As similarly to int, we pass it to the float function here. So the value a is converted to the type float. So now if I print the type this type of a, it gives me float. Okay, so now this can be done simultaneously while accepting inputs also. So say I'm asked here, it is asking me an input. Okay, and then it is printing that value. Okay, so note that when I accept this input, it is directly passed to an integer function here, so it is directly getting converted here. So if I say 2 here, So it prints 2, then it is giving me the type of 2. Note that the conversion occurs in the same line where it takes the input, and the class or type of this variable is integer. Next we have Boolean values and operators. Okay, so these are some Boolean values we have. This is true, false. Okay, then Boolean operators are and, or, and not. Okay, so say if a is equals to true and b is equals to false, then print a and b will give us false. Okay, as we know, I don't need to explain what and does and or does or not does. Okay, so you must be knowing that. So a and b gives us false. So note that we cannot use here print what we used to in the some other programming languages, that is double and signs for and all. Okay, so we'll use simple and or not here. Okay, so now we'll discuss the flow control statements. Here we have if else, if elif, then else. Okay, if it's ladder that we say, then we have if in the single line, then we have if else in a shorthand. Okay, so we'll see this first. This is the nested if else. So here I have a variable in front and it contains mirror. Okay, then I have a variable b is equals to 0. So if in front is equals to mirror, it prints Bloody Mary the strings 3 times. Okay, then it sets b is equals to 3. So if b is equals to 3, it prints a string. Okay, otherwise if b is not equal to 3, it prints another string. So if I try to execute this, see, since in front is equal to mirror, then it is going to print the string 3 times. So it has printed that, and b is set to 3 here. So when it checks is b is equal to 3, it is true, so it prints this string. Okay, and what if I change this string here, and if I try to execute this, okay, I won't get anything because I haven't written anything, the else part of this if statement. Okay, so that's why it's not printing anything here. So here I have the second example. Okay, here we have a name Ram, age, and we have his age. Okay, so if name is equals to Ram, so yeah, name is Ram. Okay, so print hi Ram. And then we have some conditions. If his age is less than equal to 2, then it is going to print this. If age is less than equal to 12, then it is going to print this. If age is greater and equal to 100, greater or equal to 100, then it is going to print some other string. Then we have some conditions and we'll follow that. Okay, so here the age is 100, so it is going to print hi Ram, that is this. Then it will check if age is less than or equal to 2, which is false, and it will come to the elif part. Here it is again false, and here it will be true. Then it is going to print this string, as you can see. Okay, so these are the simple examples, but you'll have to keep note of what type of keywords we are using. We are not using else if, we are using elif. Okay, so that's the difference here from other programming languages like C and C++. Okay, so now we will discuss the Python program to illustrate the shorthand here. Okay, so here I have initialized a variable I to 10. Okay, then I check if I is less than 15, then in the same line I am writing the code. If I is less than 15, then we print the statement. Okay, so it prints I is less than 15. Okay, it's a simple example. So you can write, if you have a single statement, you can write it in the same line. Okay, then we will discuss the Python program to illustrate the shorthand if else. Okay, so here we are going to use if and else in the same line. Okay, So here I have a variable I initialized to 10, and then I'm printing true if I is less than 15. Otherwise, that is else, I will print false. So since here I is equals to 10, so if this condition is true, it is going to print the statement written before the if, and if it is going to be false, it is going to print the statement written after else. Okay, so I'll execute this. So it prints true here. Okay, so if I set it to say 17 here and then execute, it is going to print false. Okay, so this is how you print any you write any if else statement in a single line. Okay, then we have a while loop. So this is the syntax of while loop. Okay, first we have an initialization statement. Okay, then we have a while keyword, then condition. Okay, followed by a colon. Okay, then we have indented statements and an update statement. Okay, so this is a very simple example here. Okay, I've initialized, first we have an initialization statement, that is I is equals to 0, then I have a while, then we have a condition followed by a colon. Okay, then note this, in Python we don't have some braces or something, we follow indentation for everything. Okay, so whatever the statements are indented along this line will be a part of this while loop. Okay, will be considered inside this while loop. So I have a statement print hello here, and I have an update statement I is equals to I plus 1. Okay, so if I execute this, it is going to print hello 5 times. Okay, so in Python comes with a new thing, which is while loop with a else part. Okay, so how it works is, say consider this example. Okay, here I have a while loop, and I've initialized a counter variable to 0 here, and it checks if the counter variable is less than 3. Then you have a update statement, and it prints it is still in the while loop. Okay, when it comes to the else, it will print I'm in the else part now. Okay, so if I run this, note that it runs 3 times and then it prints else. So what is happening here is, see, this loop is going to run for 3 times. When the condition fails, that is when the value of count becomes 3, so 3 is less than 3, which is false, then it comes to the else part. Okay, so it means the else part is executed when this condition fails. Okay, so this you have to remember. Okay, so this is a new thing which is introduced in Python. Okay, so now we have a Python program to illustrate the single statement while block. Okay, so what if you want to write while loop in a single statement? So this is how we do that. So here I have a counter variable set to 1, and then I have the while, then I have the condition and a colon. Okay, then I have the statement which I have to that is inside that is supposed to be inside the while loop. Okay, so this is how we write it in a single statement. So here we have a variable which contains an empty string. Okay, it checks if name is not equals to stupid, and if that's the case, it will enter here and it will ask who are you, and here you have to enter some text or string here. Okay, then it is again going to ask you until you enter stupid. Okay, so I'll run this. So it asks me who are you. So if I type Lucifer, okay, it is again going to ask me who are you. So it won't stop asking me this question until I enter stupid. Okay, if I enter stupid, it says thank you. So this is a simple example of while loop. Okay, so then we introduce the break statement. Okay, what does break statement do? It helps you come out of the loop. Okay, it breaks the loop, as the name suggests, it breaks the loop. Okay, we have a string here. Okay, empty string. then we have while true, which means it is the condition here is true, which means it is an infinite loop. Okay, so if you don't break it in between, it is going to run for infinite times. Okay, so here we have same question, who are you, then we input the name. Okay, then we check, we have the condition here. So if the name is equals to stupid, then it breaks the loop. Okay, it is the same program as we have seen before, but in a different way. We have represented it in a different way of code here. Okay, so if I execute this, it will give you the same type of output which we received before. Okay, so it again asks me, who are you? Okay, if I enter in string, it is not going to stop. So if I say I'm stupid, so it is going to accept it and say thank you. Okay, so now the program terminates. Then we have continue statement. So what this continue statement does is, okay, say this is our code. So when say it has executed these lines and it encounters a continue statement here. So what it is going to do is it will ignore whatever is written below this continue statement. It will go back to the condition. Okay, so it is going back to the while loop, and it is again check and again come through the top. Okay, so it is going to skip whatever is written below this continue statement. Okay, if it encounters while executing this while loop. So here it asks me enter a number. So if I enter 22, okay, so it again asks me a number. Okay, so again if I say 22, okay, again ask me a number. So note that I've written here, if num is not equal to 1, then continue. Okay, so here I've written a break statement. So how do we reach this break statement? Because if I enter a number which is not equal to 1, it is going to bypass this break statement and again go to the top of the this loop. Okay, so note that if I enter 1 here, okay, which means this condition is false, and it doesn't execute this continue statement, and when it comes to this break statement, and this break is executed. Now break is known for breaking the loop. So this loop is breaked, and then we come out of the loop, and here it says you are out of the while loop. Okay, then we have a pass statement. So this one thing in Python, we cannot have an empty space. See, while writing a while loop or something, you cannot have say you have defined a while loop, but it's there's no statement in it. Okay, inside the while loop. So that can't be done in a Python. Okay, so to solve that problem, we have a keyword pass here. Okay, so when pass is also known as do nothing statement or do nothing keyword. Okay, so when you say pass, it does nothing. Okay, so see here, I have a for loop for a letter in geeks for geeks. Okay, if I say pass, okay, so it'll do nothing. Actually, it'll do nothing. Okay, see, so for letter in geeks for this, we'll study what that does actually. So in brief in the second module, but for here I'll tell you just a small introduction. Okay, so what it does here is it'll take each and every this alphabet here. Okay, each and every character. Okay, so first G goes, then it has nothing, so it will pass, then again E, and so on. So when it is at the last this, okay, S, so S, since S is the last character, then after that it doesn't have anything else here, so it gets this loop gets terminated. Okay, so when you come out of the loop and you print the last letter as letter, because since letter contained this each and every alphabet here, so at the last of the loop it contains S, so that's why it's printing S here. Okay. So basically I wanted to introduce this pass statement. So pass statement, just remember, it does nothing. Then we have for loop. So here's the syntax for the for loop. That is for, then we have a variable, okay, Then in range is a function which we'll discuss now. Okay. So this is for, then we declare a variable for iteration. Then we have in keyword. Okay. Then we have range. Range function accepts some parameters or arguments such as start, stop, and step size. Okay. The step size is optional. If you don't enter it, it will take the step size. It will consider the step size as 1. Okay. So if range stop is used, okay, that is this. Okay. So if a single argument is passed in the range function, it takes a value from 0 to stop -1, and the step size will be by default 1 here. Okay. So if you pass n here, so it is going to traverse the values from 0 to n-1. Okay. So as you can see here, I have a code, example code, and I've written my name is, then I'm printing this for I in range 5. So it is going to, since I've passed only single argument here, as this says, it is going to print from 0 to 4. Okay. So it is going to print Jimmy 5 times. Okay. And see, since I is accepting a range, what is a type of integer, I would say, or it is not a string, which is okay. Range doesn't return integer, but it is a not of type of string, so we cannot use a concatenation operator here directly. Okay. So we'll have to convert it to a string first. Okay. So if I execute it, I'll get Jimmy, okay, 5 times. So Jimmy 0, Jimmy 1, Jimmy 2, 3, 4. As I said, if you say range 5, it goes from 0 to 4. That's what this code executes here. Okay. So now next example we have for I in range 3, okay, in for loop, and then else. Okay, so as we have seen that while loop also comes with else, here in Python we also have else for the for loop. Okay, so this else part executes when this condition of given in the for loop becomes false. So when the range this exceeds, okay, when this range exceeds, it is going to come and print this is the else block. Okay, so as you can see, it is printed this in for loop 3 times, since we passed 3 here. So it is going to be from 0 to 2, that is 0, 1 and 2. So these are the three print statements what we have got here. So this is there, and when this range range exceeds 3, it comes out, which means the condition is false here, and it comes to the else part in print. It is printing in else block here. Okay, so in Python you can use else with for loop and while loop also. Okay, so that's the main thing here. So as I told, I'll discuss the range function. So when you pass a single argument, it is going to take you from 0 to n-1, that is in this case 0 to 4. So if I execute this, it comes 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so next we have a range function which consists of 2 arguments, 1 and 5. So when you're passing 2 arguments, the first one is where to start, that is it is starting from 1, and then where to end, so it will end at 5. So note that when you pass the second argument, it is not actually going to take that value. It will go up to n-1, that is 4. Okay, so when I execute this, it is going to print the values from 1 to 4, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so here I have passed 3 arguments, 1, 10 and 2. So it is going to start at 1 and it is going up to n-1, that is 9. And the step size here is 2. Okay, so it is going to print 1, then plus 2, 3, then plus 2, 5, like this. Okay, so here we have 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Okay, so next we have see, in the range function you can also pass a negative step size. Okay, so say I'm starting from 5 here. Okay, in the loop this range should be till -1, so it is going to go till 0 here. Okay, it it doesn't count the last element which you have passed here, so it's going to go until 0. Okay, and the step size here is -1, so it will print 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0. So now we'll see how to import a package in Python. So there are several ways. The first one is import and then package name. Okay, so say you want to import some package which is whose name is random. Okay, so you write import random. Okay, now here is an example of importing multiple packages at the same time. So I've written import random comma system comma os and comma math. Okay, so you can write in this way to import many of the packages in the same line. Okay, the second way is we write from import, then package name, then we give the list of functions to be imported, okay, which belongs to this package. Then if in place of this we are using asterisk, which means you want to import all the functions of that package. Okay, so I've written here from random import star. Okay, it is same as import random. Okay, so import star means include all the functions, import all the functions which is there in the random package. Okay, so this second method is useful when you want to import only some of the functions of a package particularly. Okay, so here I have an example for importing packages. Here I've used import random package. Then I have a loop for a range 5, which means it is going to be executed 5 times from 0 to 4. Okay, then in this for loop I have a statement, print statement. Okay, in the print statement I've used a function randint, okay, which is a function in the random package. So, and I've passed the argument 1 to 10, which means this random function is going to return me the values between 1 to 10. Okay, randomly. It is going to generate numbers between 1 to 10 randomly. So if I execute this, I'll get say I got this. So it is unpredictable. It is going to, every time I execute it, it is going to return me something new. As you can see, it's changing. Now there's a second way which we discussed. We can import the packages. So I've used import random as rm. Okay, so this is a second way. When you use as here, see, we have written random here. Okay, when we are importing, we are not denoting it by any variable as such. We use the full name. But if I'm using as here, I'm giving it this random as another name, so I can use rm to call that particular package. So rm.randint, and it will give me the same output. Okay, so this is the second way we discussed here to import packages. So from randint import star, which means from random package import every function. Okay, so the same function. Okay, see, when you use a second way, there is this method. The second method, you don't have to mention the package name when you're calling the function, because here you're directly actually importing the functions in your program. Okay, so when I write a randint directly here, it will execute. It won't give me an error. But in this case, if I try to execute it directly, it is going to give me an error. Okay, so here I'll have to mention the the name of the package in which the function is. But here we are importing the functions actually. Okay, so here as this line suggests, from random import all the functions. Okay, so it is importing all the functions. Okay, here we say import the random package. So when you use this, we have to mention the package name when you are calling the functions, okay, in that package. But here we can use those functions directly. So that's the main difference here. Okay. Then we have our sys.exit functions, which is used to end the program early. Okay, so for that we have a package called sys. okay, system package we have. So here I have a loop, okay, the condition is true, which means it is a infinite loop until and unless it is terminated inside the loop. Okay, so here I have a print statement type exit to exit. So here it takes the response, then it checks if a response is equals to exit. If it is equals to exit, then it is going to execute this system.exit. So how is it different from the break statement? Okay, so the question is, how is it different from the break statement here? Okay, so what break statement does is it just breaks the loop, but what system.exit does is it stops your program at that point. Okay, it is going to end that program, whatever you are executing, it is going to end that program at that point. Okay, so when I execute this, he'll note a difference. So it asks me to enter text. Okay, so first I will enter any of this text, say first edition. Okay, so it is again going to ask until I enter this exit thing to execute the code. Okay, so I'll enter exit. Okay, so an exception has occurred. Use %tb to use a full trackback. Okay, and it gives me system exit. So as you can see, we have used system exit here. So it is telling me that there might be some issue with your program and the program terminated in between. Okay, since we have that is because this is on purpose error we are getting, because we have used a system.exit function here. Okay, so next we have functions in Python. Okay, this is how we define a function. So we have a keyword def. Okay, then we have a function name here, then followed by a colon. Okay, then we have statements. Okay, note that in Python we don't have any curly braces. Okay, we follow indentation till these lines are the part of, these statements are the part of the function call. Okay, this is the function body. Okay, that is denoted by the indentation. Okay, so here for example I have a function hello. Okay, so when I call this function hello, it will come here. Okay, it will print yes, say something in this thing. Okay, so if I execute this, all the things written in this line, okay, this indent is going to be printed as a part of this function. Okay, that's what is happening here. Next we have a function hello, then it asks, we are passing a parameter to it. So it is an example how you pass parameters to function in Python. So I'm passing the string Lucifer here. Okay, so this goes and it is the value name receives it. So it says hi the name, which means in our case it will print hi Lucifer. Okay, so we'll execute it and say, so yeah, it prints hi Lucifer. Okay. Then I have a function which checks if the number is even or not. Okay, so here we have function, then even number. Okay, if the number modulus 2 is equals to 0, that is the remainder is 0 here, it returns yes, it is even. Otherwise it returns no, which means it is not even number. Okay, so in the first print statement I have passed 4, which must be returning yes, because 4 is an even number. And then in the second print statement I have 3, which must be returning no. Okay, since 3 is not an even number. So if I execute this, it will say for 4 it prints 3 yes. Okay, and for the second statement for 3 it says no. Okay, so note that in this Python we don't have a return statement. Okay, so it automatically figures what type of return you are using. So we don't have to mention any return statement in Python. So there's a basic syntax of how you write functions in Python. Okay, then we have default parameters. Okay, so this is how you give default parameters. Okay, so we have a function greet here, and name I have a default parameter ghost. Okay, so say I don't pass any any parameter here, So it takes a default parameter as ghost here and will print high ghost. Okay. If you are giving any parameter, it will print high whatever the parameter is given. Okay. So if I execute this, so first it prints high ghost because we didn't give any parameter here, so it is printing, it is taking the default parameter. Okay, when you are passing any parameter here, it takes that parameter into the consideration, and here in this case it is printing this high and then this string passed here. Okay, then we have functions returning other functions. So this is a bit complex topics, please be attentive. So here there's a function a, okay, it accepts a parameter x. Okay, then I have a function b defined inside this function. Okay, this function accepts a parameter y and it returns a value x plus y. Okay, and this particular function at the end returns b. See, this return is in the indent of this first function. Okay, so first function, so this belongs to this function, and since this is an indent to this, so this statement belongs to this function. Okay, so I'll execute this, it might be more clear then. Okay. See, so first I call the function a of 10. Okay, so it is going, the value of 10 will be passed to x. So now x is 10. Now it will come to this here. So it says the definition, okay, by. So it is since it is a function definition, it is not going to execute that part until and unless it is called. So it will skip that part and come here. So it is returning b here. Okay, so now what is b? B is a function name. Okay, so it is actually returning the function b here. Okay, so it gets stored in g. Okay, so now since it returned the function b, which means b is stored in g, so if you call g, you are indirectly calling the function b. So if you're calling g function, as I've called, and I've passed a parameter 6 here, so if I'm calling this, you are technically calling the function b and passing 6 to it. Okay, so if I pass, say y is 6, since x was 10 before and y is 6 here. Okay, so here it is going to return x plus y, which is 10 plus 6, which means 16. Please take a pen and paper and try to trace this small code, and you can understand it better. Okay, then I have another function here. Okay, so the function name is parent, and then we have parameter, then we have first child, then we have a function second child. If name is equals to number is equals to 1, then we return the first child function. Then if otherwise, we return the second child function. Okay, so I call x parent 1. Okay, I'm passing for 1 here. Okay, so the number is 1 here. So since these are the definitions, it is not going to execute that. It will come to this part. So if num is equals to 1, yeah, it is. So it is going to return the first child. Okay, so the first child function is returned. Okay, so now x is the first child function. If I execute it, it should print the state, this string what I'm returning here for the first child function. Okay, and similarly for the this y variable here, I'm calling the parent for second. So it is going to, num is not equal to 2 here, so it is going to return the second child. So here it is returning this statement. When I call y, it is returning this statement. So it will print first this thing and will print second y, that is this thing. Okay, so for this, it prints the first child was returning. Okay, since we called x, and parent 1 returned us the first child function. So x was technically, when we called x, we were calling the first child function, and the first child function was returning the string. So that's why, hence it's printing the string. Okay, note that here we have a strange strings thing here. So what it is actually, it is a type of address or name to that function. Okay, whenever you have a function in Python, it is given a particular address, name, or a address to that function. So when I print y, since y here we called y, we have y is receiving the value returned by this function. So this function returned the second child function here. So when I'm printing y, it will print the address or the name of the function, this thing what you see here. Okay, you don't have to get in detail about it, but this is the thing. Okay, if you print directly y, you are going to get something like this. Okay? That is basically the address to that function. Okay, address to that function second child. Okay, so now if I execute y, I'm technically executing the second child function here, and here it prints the string what is defined in the second child function. Next I have none value. So in Python there is a value called none, which represents the absence of a value. Okay, none is only the value of the none type data type. Okay, other programming languages might call this value as null, nil, or undefined also. Okay, so Python adds none to the end of any function definition with no return statement, which means if you're not returning anything in a function, by default it adds return null. Okay, so here I have a program here. See, I have called print how are you, and I'm receiving what this function returns in a. Then I'm checking if a is equals to none. Okay, so if I'm checking whether print statement returns anything or not. Okay, if it doesn't return anything, by default it is returning none. Okay, so in this case I'll get true for this. Okay, otherwise if it is returning something, then I might get false. Okay? Execute it. So it printed how are you. Then how are you was not, this print function doesn't return anything, so a received a value none. So hence when I compare it with none, I get true. Okay, then we will discuss about the print function brief. So see, here the basic print functions we have discussed in our previous examples that you might understand, but there are some some methods or some different arguments which could be passed along with the print function, that are use of end and sep. Okay, so say when I print this these two print statements, I get this. Okay, I get the output in separate lines. But what if I want these in a single line? The first way is to do what you can write it in a single line, in a single statement. The second way is you specify that in the end of the first statement you want a space. Okay, you don't want the next line. By default, by end is equals to \n, that is a new line. Okay, so when you specify that in the end of the print statement I want a space, so it doesn't go to the next line, it is going to print these both statements in the same line. So if I execute this, you get this string. Okay, so next come what is the difference? See, there are two ways in which you can print strings actually. First is by using the plus, which is a concatenation operator, then the other is comma. So when you use comma, so it adds a space where you have used comma. Okay, by default it adds a space. So when I try to execute this, see that in between these strings it has added some space here. Okay, here, then in between these strings, okay, it has added the space in where the comma was placed. Okay, so what if I don't want this space here? Okay, so I can say the separator don't put a space there, put a comma. Okay, so wherever there is a comma, there is a wherever we have used a comma, it is going to print a comma here. Okay, so if I execute this, you will see it is not using space, now it is using comma. Okay, so if I specify use say asterisk as a separator, and if I execute this, so it is going to use asterisk for that. Okay, by default it takes space if you're using comma. So I'll leave it to comma. That would be, okay, fine. So and now next example, we have a variable age set to 20. Then we have a name variable, then which consists of a string. Okay, then we are printing here I've used that percentage method which we discussed earlier in the topic of concatenation of strings. Okay, so as I said, as we were using as we used to represent the print statement in C language, so it is quite similar to that. Percentage S is for percentage X is for strings, and percentage D gives us for represents the integer value. Okay, so when I say percentage S, then I'm using backslash because since we're using single quotes here, backslash is used for as a escape sequence, which we'll discuss in the second module. Okay, so I won't discuss this part now. So what I'll do is I'll place a double quotes for, otherwise you people will get confused here. Okay, and I'll execute it. Okay, so this prints percentage S, means it it wants some this string to be placed here. So it is the string to be placed here is name. So name consists of Hawk, so Hawk is printed. Then there's a single quote and S, so that is printed. Then we have age is, then percentage D is for integer, which is taking the value age. So age consists of value 20, so 20, so it prints Hawk's age is 20. Okay, then we have local and global scopes. So parameters and variables that are assigned in a call functions are set to exist in that function's local scope. Okay, the variable that are assigned outside all the functions are set to exist in the global scope. A variable that exists in a local scope is called local variable, while the variable exists in which exists in the global scope is called a global variable. Okay, so scopes matter for the several reasons. We have there is code in the global scope cannot use any local variables. Okay, so if some variable is defined in any local scope, it is only it can be only used in that particular scope. It cannot be used outside that scope or the outside that function. Okay, so however, a local scope can access global variables. Then code in a function's local scope cannot use variables in another local scope. Okay, then we have you can use the same name for different variables if they are in different scopes. Okay, but there's a thing here, if you're using the same names, there might be some ambiguity. So we'll see how to deal with that ambiguity here. So here I have example of a function, and in this function I have a variable x. So if I call this function spam, and then it is going to print it is going to initialize x as 31337, what is written in this function definition. Okay, so but if outside this function I'm trying to access this x and I'm trying to print its value, it is going to give me an error. Okay, and the type of an error is name error. It says name x is not defined. So why is it giving that? Because this x has a local scope. It has a scope inside the spam function. Okay, it doesn't have a scope outside the spam function, so it doesn't mean anything if you call it if you call say x outside the function, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, because it is not declared in that scope. Okay, so that's why this print statement gives us error. Okay, so the second thing is local scopes cannot use variables in other local scopes. So say here we have two functions. Okay, in this function I have a variable this x. Okay, here I have I'm calling this second function bacon here. Okay, so when I'm calling the bacon function, it comes to this part. Then we have here ham 101. then we set x to back to 0. Okay, so note that when we run this function, okay, and when we call this spam function, then it goes here, it initializes x to 99, then it calls bacon comes here, then it sets ham to 101, and then it is trying to set x equals to 0. So here we get an error that egg is not defined in the function bacon. Okay, because bacon has its own set of scope, own kind of scope, and egg wasn't defined in its scope. That's why when you try to access any variable in outside of its scope, you're going to get an error. Okay, so next we have global variables can be read from the local scope. So here, as you see, I have a variable egg not defined in the inside the function. Please note the intent here, it's outside this function definition. Okay, so we have a function spam, and spam prints a value of x. Okay, so x is equals to 42. If I called spam, so it is going to print 42. If I call print x, again it is going to print 42, because this egg was defined in a global scope. Okay, so each and every function or each and every statement what we are writing can access eggs. Okay, but if as we have seen earlier, if I declare any variable or declare something inside the scope of a function, that is a local scope, we cannot use it in any other scope. Okay, it has to be used locally in that particular scope only. Then we have local and global variables with the same name. Okay, so say we have a function here, spam. Okay, it consists we have a variable x. Okay, and it consists of a string spam local. Then here we're printing spam x, print x, sorry. So we have a second function, print bacon. Then in print bacon we have a same type of variable, but it contains bacon local. Okay, so then we have print x, so it will print this. Then we are calling spam. Okay, then we have print x again. Okay, that is bacon local. Now x is also global here. Okay, so if you notice, I've used x 3 times, here, here, and here. So I'm using x 3 times in 3 different scopes. I've used it in a global scope, and I've used it in 2 different local scopes here. Okay, so when this function is called here, bacon, okay, so it is going to call this function, so it will set x to bacon local, and it will print x, which means it is printing bacon local. Okay, so that is the first thing you'll get. Then it calls a spam function, so it will go here, then x is initialized to spam local, so when you print x, you'll get spam local, so you get spam local. So when it comes back, so that's the end of the function. When it comes back, okay, then we have print x again. So when this gets executed, it is going to print bacon local, not spam local. Okay, because that particular egg was a part of that its local scope. When the function as the function stops executing, or it gets over, the scope of it ends, and that variable is sent to trash at the time. Okay, so it means it has no meaning in some other scope actually. So when it comes here in the other in its previous scope here, it sees it has a variable x here, so it prints that thing. Okay, it is not going to print what was there in the scope of spam. Okay, then we have a last print x here. Okay, it prints global, because it is not using when it prints x, it is going to look for the value the variable x in its global scope, because this print statement is in global. If I say in print state, if I am writing a print statement here in a local scope, first it will look in the local scope here, then it is going to look in the global scope. Okay, so that's what the output is here. Then we have a global statement. Okay, So if you need to modify a global variable from within a function, use global statement. Okay, so we have a test function. Okay. Note that I have defined text in a global scope. Okay, I have a print statement here. It says before the function call text is equals to, then I'm printing the text. Okay, so before the function call text is hello, so it is going to print hello. Then I'm calling the test function here. Okay, so when I call the test function, it says global text, means use a global scope of text. Okay, so it means use the variable which is defined, text which is defined in the global scope. So the text in the global scope is this. Okay, so when I say text is in global scope, and then if I modify something in here, so it actually reflects the changes in the text variable defined in the global scope here. Okay, outside the function. Okay, it doesn't treat it as a local variable here. Okay, so it knows like this is defined in some global scope somewhere, and we have to change that value. Okay, so if I say text is equals to hola, then this hello is modified to hola, and after the function call it should print hola. Okay, so I'll execute this now and you can see. So first it prints hello, then second it prints hola. Now we will see exceptional handling. So here in exceptional handling, we have a function. For example, we have a function divide 22 by. Okay, so when I execute this, see, when I divide 22 by 2, okay, it gives me 11. When I divide 22 by 12, it's okay, it gives me this value. Note that it is giving me a floating value because Python automatically converts the whatever type of data type you're using to a floating type when you use division. Okay, division operator, this. Okay, so that's why it converts it to float type. So when I'm passing it 0, which means 22 divided by 0, which is not possible. Okay, so it gives me a 0 division error, as you can see here. So when I receive such an error, the program terminates after that. Okay, so as you can see, this divide 22 1 never gets executed. So that's why exceptional handling is very important to learn, because if you're able to handle your exceptions, what exceptions are occurring in your program, then your program won't stop. Okay, it'll give you an exception message which you can choose, or which you can define what you have to do when such exception occurs. So that's the use of exceptional handling here. So here as you can see, when it found an exception, the program terminates. This statement never gets executed. Okay, so here we have the type of errors. Okay, see, as I said previously, when you're using plus, that is operator, which means you're trying to concatenate two things here. So this is the first type is string, and the second is an integer. Okay, so as I said, you can concatenate only two strings together. You cannot concatenate two a string and an integer. So it gives me a type error. Okay, and it says I can only concatenate str, not int to str. Okay, then if I say print variable, it says name error, since variable is not defined in this program. Okay, see, name var is not defined. Okay, now these are the several type of error. See, I have a list. I will discuss lists in the second module. This is just an example. Okay, it's like arrays, if you have used arrays and other programming languages. So here I have a list of 1, 2 and 3 elements. Okay, I try to print L0, it prints. Okay, fine. The indexes goes from 0 to n-1, so 0, 1, 2. Okay, but what if I try to print L of 3? There's no index 3 available in this list. So it is printing fine for this L of 0, that is 1, but in the second statement it'll give me index error, which means you're trying to access an index which doesn't exist. or it gives the type of error which is list index out of range. Okay, so here I have an example which is handling the exception. So it is similar to what we have discussed earlier. So it is the same program, but here we are handling the exceptions. Okay, so there's two keywords here, try and except. In try block we write the statements which are prone to have some exception. So you have written the return statement where it we have a division operation here which is prone to having some error. Then we have a except statement which gets executed when we find some exception in the try block. Okay, so except 0, if you find some 0 division error, then you can print invalid argument. Okay, so if I execute this, note the changes here. Okay, so first I divide 22 by 2, so it returns 11, then 12, it returns this. Okay, so when I return 0, it is returning me invalid argument. Okay, so it is not returning me anything, it is not terminating the code. So actually that's what is called exception handling. We are handling our exception here. Okay, so we know if we encounter a 0 division error here, then print it's an invalid argument, and then you can move on to the next statements below. Okay, so that's what it means here. Okay, so as you can see in the previous example, it halted at this position. Okay, after this statement, that is this output, it faced it encounters this error, 0 division error here, when it tries to divide 22 by 0, and the program terminates at that point when it finds the error. But here, since we have handled the exception, it is going to execute everything since we have given up. We are handling the exception here properly. Okay, so when this gets executed, since it never executes anything, that's why the statement prints none. Okay, then we have divide 22 by 1, that is 22. Okay, so here in this example, note the difference between the above code and this code. Okay, see, before we use the try block in the function definition. Okay, here in this 22 divided by 0 part. Okay, we have covered that, but here note we are using it with this print statement. Okay, so when you, please note the difference between these two programs are very important to understand the working of this try and except blocks. Okay, so when I execute this, note this will execute properly, we'll get no error. This will execute properly, we'll get no error. Here we'll get a 0 division error, so it'll go to the except block, it'll check, yeah, we have got a 0 division error, so for that print invalid argument. So it prints invalid arguments and it exits. Okay, there's nothing more. Okay, it doesn't come to this part. Okay, so why it is because when you write something in a try block, and if at any particular statement you receive error, or you get an error, so that a particular block of code stops at that point and goes to except part. Okay, then after the this, it doesn't come back to the try block. Okay, it just handles that exception which we have got and moves on. Okay, so that's why nothing gets executed after the statement which is returning of error here. So this divide by 22 by 1 never gets executed in this case, as we have seen in the previous example. Since we have written it in this function definition itself, so it executes everything, because every time we are calling the new functions again and again. But here this is considered as a whole. So if it finds any error here, so it is going to skip anything else written in below that code, below that statement line which is returning error. So next we have save divide function, which accepts two parameters, a and b. So if I pass say print save divide 4, 2, so A receives 4 and B receives 2. Okay, so if I'm returning here A divided by B, so this function actually handles this division very efficiently. If I'm not passing any integer value, if I'm passing the B as 0, so it will give me 0 division error. So I have handled that 0 division error, and I'll say that you cannot divide anything by 0. Okay, if you're passing anything else other than any integer, say here I've passed ABC, which is a string, so seriously, we cannot divide any string with an integer. Okay, there's no division operation possible for the strings, so that will give you a type error. So I've written if there's any type error, then to handle that, print this. Okay, so if I execute this, see, the first statement executes properly, that is 4, 2 returns me the proper value, that is 4 by 2 is 2. Okay, then we have save divide 4, 0, which means we are trying to divide 4 by 0, so we cannot divide anything by 0, which gives us a 0 division error. So for handling 0 division error, I've given a statement which says cannot divide by 0, so it is we get a prompt here that we cannot divide by 0. And for the third statement, I'm passing a string as a first argument, so that gives me a type error because it has to be an integer. Okay, so here we have handled the type error here, and we say this is a type error, so it printing this is a type error. Okay, so here I have another example, divide not 0. Okay, then see, the first what we had was, okay, here we had some system, some predefined exceptions which we got, then we checked for that exception, like 0 division error is a predefined exception. Okay, and the type error is a predefined exception. But in this example, we see a keyword raise. So raise is used to raise your own exception here. Okay, so if you say if I execute this, let me execute this first. Okay, see, if I execute this, raise value error, okay, and say denominator b cannot be 0. Okay, so if you see here, since I the first statement is 4, 2, which will return me 2. Okay, it's correct when I try to divide it by 0. So if I check, okay, if b is 0, then raise value error. Okay, I have named the error as value error, so it is naming it as value error. Okay, and print a message like denominator b cannot be 0. So it at the end it is printing that particular message which I have passed in this statement. So here I have another example. I have a function my special error. Okay, then I passed value error. Here I have a value error argument, and then in the function I have nothing. I'm using pass. Okay, and here I have a try and except block. Try block and it is printing some statement. Then I'm raising my special errors here. Okay, which is this function. Okay, so you can use raise to raise exceptions, and exceptions could be raised in the form of functions. Okay, so if I am using this, it is going to do nothing actually, because I have written pass here. It's going to do nothing. Okay, I'll come and print hello. No, it is not going to print hello because since we are raising an exception here, so it is going to go and execute whatever there is in this function. So since here we haven't written anything, we're using pass, so it will then come back to except block, and then it'll print my error is my error here. Okay, if I type this, so it'll print the statement. Okay, then we raise this my special error thing. Okay, so then it comes to this except block, then it's printing the statement, so it never reaches this. So we have discussed this earlier in the try block. If you get a statement which is giving an error, so it stops the execution at that point. Okay, and goes to the except block. So we have learned how to raise our own exceptions here. Then we have next thing, which is try, except, and finally. Okay, and in as we have discussed in previous for the for and while loops, in exceptional handling we can use else too. Okay, so here I have a same program, some division a by b. Okay, see, in try block I have written print try block, then c divide 2 by 2. Okay, in except I have written except is executed, which means an error was encountered. Okay, then we have else block, which gets executed. Else block is executed when there is no exception. Okay, when there is no when there's no exception in the try block, it comes to the else. After executing all these statements, it comes to the else part. Okay, if there is a try block, it comes to the except part and it never goes to the else part. Okay, and finally block, what it does is, it no matter what you find an exception or you don't find an exception, this is always going to be executed. Okay, so if you see here, since 2 by 2 doesn't give any error, okay, it's fine. So it says first we are in the try block, this gets executed, then it comes to the since we don't find any exception here, comes to the else part, the else part gets executed, then it comes to the finally block, and this finally and the finally block, whatever the statements we have written, that gets executed. So if I pass in place of 2, I pass 0 here and I execute it, you see the difference. Okay, first we were in the try block. Okay, then we got a exception here, so we'll go to the except block. In except block we have this, an error was encountered. Okay, then finally blocks get executed, because it doesn't matter whatever the situation is, you find any exception or you don't find any exception, always the finally block is going to be executed every time. Okay, only the thing is with else and except block. So these things differ based on basis what you find inside the try block. Okay, so this thing I'll change it back to okay, fine. Now the last topic in this module is to program to guess a number. So here is a program. So here I have imported the random package. Okay, then I'm generating a random integer number from 1 to 20. Okay, so and I'm storing it in secret number. Okay, so print I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 20. Okay, so it prints I'm thinking a number between 1 and 20. Okay, so for guess taken in the range of 1 to 7, so it goes from 1 to 6. So you've got 7 or 6 chances for that. So if in that chances you are able to guess the number, fine. Otherwise it'll print no, that the number was thinking was, so it is going to prompt you with a message, with this message. Okay, if you are able to guess it within the number 6 times, within 6 times chances, then it will print this statement. Okay, so that's a program. Inside the for loop we have a print take a guess, then we input the guess. Okay, so if the guess is less than the secret number, we say your guess is too low. Okay, else if the guess is greater than the secret number, we tell your guess is too high. Okay, otherwise we'll break. See, if guess is equals to the secret number, see, secret number is generated randomly, so we don't know that. We ask user to enter any number. Okay, if that number which user entered is less than the secret number, we prompt the user that what you have guessed is too low. Okay, the number actually is very much higher than this number. Okay, we prompt the user with that. Then if the what the user has guessed is greater than the secret number, we tell him your guess is too high. The number is actually a bit low. Okay, so if these both condition is false, which means the user has guessed the right number, which means in that case we break the loop and we come out of this. Okay, so when this loop gets break, before this range, this guess taken value becomes 7, which means it is the user has guessed that value in the provided range, which means this guess will be equal to the sequence number, and print this thing. Otherwise print this second print statement which we have here. Okay. If I execute this, so I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 20. Please take a guess. Okay, so say I'll enter 5. Okay, so your guess is too low. So 5 is too low, so I'll enter 10, say. Okay, again 10 is also low, I'll enter 15. Okay, 15 is high, so which means it is between 10 and 15, so I'll enter 13. Okay, 13 is too low, so it'll be 14. Okay, so good job, you have guessed the number and 5 guesses. Okay, so since this loop ran for the 5 times, so it knows how many chances I've taken, and that gets printed here. So you can have a look to this code, and you can trace it on your own to then you'll have a better understanding of this code. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you. That's all for this video. See you in our next video. If you liked our video, please do like, share and subscribe.